Today we start our new series, A Whiteshields Guide to 9th Edition. Hello and welcome back. I'm Knight Commander Cabe, and this is a tactical and strategic focused channel aiming to increase your skills on the tabletop. Today, in our first episode of A Whiteshields Guide to 9th Edition, we're looking at screening. Basically a little bit about this series. We're aimed at new players for gaining more skills on the basis they know about the core gameplay but want to learn about key skills and strategies to increase the game and progress them as players. So you're basically thinking, what the hell is screening and why should I bother using it? Basically it's a way to protect your high valued units, the ones that are dishing out a lot of your firepower and actually doing the damage to their enemy. So I'm thinking of units like tank commanders, Leman Russes, Baneblades, even artillery pieces like basilisks, wyverns, manticores. So you want to protect all these units, but how? Personally, I'd use cheap infantry units or conscripts. Not so much conscripts because I haven't got that many models in my collection at the minute, but low point models which I don't really care about if I lose them, as long as they don't get to my high value targets and my high value units at the back. So that's personally what I use, but you can also use things like Bulgarins and Crusaders. They have their own advantages as they've got a higher staying power compared to a guardsman, and they've got that option to do damage back when you do get charged when they try and go after your high valued units. Another use for screening is for deep strike denial. So basically it's what it says on the tin, it just denies their ability to deep strike in a certain area of the board. So remember, to deep strike you've got to be within you can't be within 9 inches of an enemy unit. So if you tactically place all of your units around your deployment zone and there's no 9 inches areas, they can't deep strike there. So you actually start thinking like, oh, so if they can't drop there, I can make them drop in somewhere where I want them to be, somewhere where they're out of your reach of your valuable units like your tanks, but obviously they're still within hitting range of your tanks with the amount of range they have. Anyway, right, moving on. So the basic rule I stand by. My screening units tend to at least be 4.5 to 6 inches in front of anything I want protecting. This is mainly because of how consolidation works, which we'll get to later on down in the video. And that this is the only downside with this is units with the fly keyword. They can tend to jump over your screening units and get into your tanks anyway. But that's something you need to look for when it comes to your shooting phase, like taking that unit and getting rid of them, so that problem's null and void. Anyway, another rule of thumb I use is keeping them spread out as much as possible while staying in unit coherency, which has changed, remember. You've got to keep within 2 inches of 2 other models when it's within 6 or more models in that unit, which definitely affects guard infantry and conscript units. Not so much with lower model count units like Marines, who can have going units of 5 now as well. So just something to bear in mind. And also multiple screens are always better. Built-in redundancy, you can't really fault for that. It's like one goes, you've always got something, a backup for that. So obviously multiple screens personally is the way I go with it. Anyway, on to the next one. Here's some examples of bad screening. Obviously on the top left there's an infantry squad in front of 2 Leman Russes in the centre, but all clumped up, and as you can see the Bulgarins what are charging the Leman Russes can get around them. That's not screening, that's bad screening. You're not protecting anything doing that. The photo below, it's slightly better, but the infantry's that close to the tanks, then Bulgarins can charge all 3 of them units and tag every single unit there. Even if they can't kill them, they've tagged 2 Leman Russes and an infantry squad from shooting next turn. Brilliant on there, guys. You've just damaged a massive amount of your firepower just through bad placement. And obviously the last photo on the right, on the top infantry squad, obviously they've got a nice good gap behind. You think, oh, that's good screening, but that Lehman Russ being so close to that infantry squad, they've been charged by the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians have wiped the squad, and now they can consolidate into the Lehman Russ, tying it up for a whole turn so it can't shoot. Again, bad screening. Moving on to some good screening now. Anyway, on the top left, it's a single file screen. Obviously, it's got a nice, decent distance between themselves and the Lehman Russes. The Bulgarians are going to struggle very much to get around the infantry squad to get into the tanks. From how I've set it out here, it looks like it's going to be an impossible way to do it anyway, so that itself is a good screen. Obviously the Bulgarians are going to charge into the infantry screen and destroy it, and then turn after they'll be going at the tanks, but that's a whole turn where we can shoot the Bulgarians to see if we can get rid of them, or come up with another tactic to get rid of the Bulgarians anyway. The bottom left, again, is pretty much the same thing but with 2 infantry squads and tanks slightly further behind. Yeah, and again, it's the same problem as the first one. It's still a good screen, but you haven't got any really redundancy on it. Anyway, at the top right, same as the first one, but we've put a bit of redundancy behind it. This is going to help in 2 ways. One, it's going to take them Bulgarians at least 2 turns to get to them tanks now, because they've got to deal with 2 infantry squads. That basically gives you 3 turns to shoot and take them Bulgarians off the table with your tanks. Or come up with another solution to destroy them in another way, but it gives you that little bit more time to deal with it. And the last photo, it's a combination of the second and third, just for a little bit more tactical flexibility. If you can see the formation of the second rank, this is new for 9th. Basically it's in like an eye. The problem with that is the most spread out as that unit can physically be, keeping in coherency. But as soon as one of them guardsmen die, the rest of that unit is going to crumble to 3. So I personally wouldn't use this, but I put it in here for reference. But that possibly would be an idea how to do it. As you can see, the Bulgarians have charged the bottom squad, destroyed it, but it's still got to charge into the second squad. The same as the third photo, you've got that little bit of redundancy to go through in that. And obviously the squad at the top on the left is free to do whatever they please. They could counter charge or what, it's entirely up to you in that phase. Anyway, last is just a couple of diagrams of screening for deep strike denial. On the left, as you can see, if you have 4 units over your deployment on a standard 6x4 board, you can cover pretty much your entire deployment zone, except for a couple of little divviats, but that's easily rectified by putting another unit just there. And obviously with the scout sentinels, with your first move, you can see how much more size you cover when you come to deep strike denial. Remember, deep striking don't come down until turn 2, so you've always got that 2 turns of movement if you go first. Oh no, sorry, 3 lost movement if you go first, 2 because if you go second. So scout sentinels are very good for this purpose, and it gives the enemy something to preoccupy them while the rest of your units are dealing the damage it needs to. And obviously the picture on the right is just another way of putting it. Obviously the coherence is not quite right on this one because I've just found this one on the internet, but it's a good depiction of where they can actually come down. Obviously the area that's not in blue, so it's just something to be aware of if you know your enemy is taking a lot of deep striking units. But yeah, anyway, that's it for this one. I hope to be doing a lot more of these type of videos. If there's anything you want changing or anything you want explaining more, don't be afraid to drop a comment down, and I will try and reply to as many as I can. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and drop a comment please, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, take it easy and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.